First, controlling a naked dude is not okay at all.
In essence, it looks like a fight after fight, fight after fight, and you didn't even get a reward for it.
It is very difficult to monetize such games in terms of non-advertising monetization.
First and foremost, we must enhance retention at a specific number.
If there is no restriction, regardless of your actions, you will end up with nothing.
Consider how to use it correctly. How is it in games? There was an absence of something.
Greetings, my friends. Today we have assembled in a rather atypical manner that deviates from the norm. We are going to talk about the game that we have already discussed. This is the game Gladiator from the Sea, but a year has passed. An event occurred, modifications have been implemented in terms of the process of generating revenue, the process of obtaining traffic has been carried out, and so forth. We have realized that we have problems with long-term LTV. Accordingly, we decided to sum up. Vlad will tell a little more about them and talk further exclusively about gameplay and monetization. Please subscribe, like, and feel free to ask any questions about analytics or game design directly in the comments section. Feel free to share our video. Well, Vlad, let's have you tell us a little bit about what and how.
When comparing the current analysis to the one conducted about a year ago, it is evident that mediation was primarily introduced during the mediation process. Furthermore, the inclusion of interstitial advertising, which was previously absent, significantly contributed to the project's earnings through the advertising monetization model, leading to a substantial increase. These additions have proven to be instrumental in enhancing the project's overall profitability and success. Here. Additionally, yes, there have been some modifications to the gameplay. The most significant changes were implemented in the advertising monetization, resulting in a noticeable increase in advertising revenue. However, in-app monetization as a result has been fluctuating for the majority of this entire duration. Well, I mean, it's approximately the same level as it was during the callback, and it remains unchanged. This, accordingly, I hope, is the purpose of our call to understand the directions that will help develop this monetization, because the advertising, I think, is already close to squeezing out of the project what could already be close to the maximum. Not tens, not double, not triple, but rather a few tens of percentage points can be enhanced in my comprehension, albeit to a negligible extent. And here's the growth of in-app monetization in my understanding, but I believe my colleagues will provide a more insightful perspective for me.
Denis, well, maybe you can say something about advertising monetization, if you have something to say.
I can only provide advice that if there is a task for internal monetization growth, it is important to actively pursue conditional retention strategies in order to ensure long-term success and sustainability. The greater the game's value to the player, the more likely they will become a paying user. If this is not the case, that is, if there is low retention, I mean that it is not there, as if at least 20% of the fourth day, which decreases, of course, moves to the seventh day, then it is very difficult to monetize such games in terms of non-advertising monetization. That concludes everything I have to say for the time being.
I understand, Dan. Thank you, Jen. Let's have you talk about something traditional related to this project, and then we'll listen to Sasha's perspective on the matter.
But I still, you know what? There I am, so to speak, on the 5th, 6th battle. I still haven't understood why I will continue to go through these battles. So I just managed to make out that there is a league present, but it's located in the center. It can be described as the main screen with chests. The primary focus, of course, is on chests, as they serve as the main source of earnings in the game. However, in the midst of this backdrop, the overall comprehension of the situation was obscured and lost. The player, in my opinion, is not engaged precisely because he does not understand what is happening, what progression is going on. Chests pile up, open in half an hour. Feels like endless fights, no rewards earned for all the effort. This chain did not work. In terms of why a player should play battle after battle.
Vladislav, would you mind sharing the game you used as a reference? I'm curious to know how you came up with this idea.
Actually, the concept was conceived around the 17th year and a reference was used during that specific period of time. The developer said that I've been working on the engine for 2 or 3 months, but let's make a game about gladiators. Due to rapid developments, we decided to proceed with the project without referencing existing materials. Our focus was on quickly creating the first prototype, so we didn't even consider looking at references during the game creation process. And yes, there were indeed projects similar to iGladiator that emerged during that particular period of time.
iGladiator, released in 2013, had me as the game designer developing the entire combat system for it. There was an additional paid game. It had a cost of 4.99. In total, in my opinion, she sold approximately around 1 million, but I mean copies.
We are not discussing the period from 2013 to 2014 at the moment, when it was feasible to launch the game, but the circumstances were somewhat comparable to those of Steam.
Looking at the charts, I can see that there is no retention. Retention of the third day? Well, it's gone overall. What does it say? This suggests, in my view, that the game is completely uninteresting. Here it is already getting a little further. Yes, we have some kind of first row, there is something else there, but if we are talking about some kind of inappropriate monetization, it means, well, first of all, what is inappropriate? This is when you want to purchase it. Do you want to purchase it when you, I do not know, require it, you have some inclination? Desire arises not solely because it arises for a specific reason. Therefore, it is not as if you simply arrived there, spent money, and will not make use of it in the future time to come. Therefore, if our primary objective is to boost the revenue generated within the application, it is crucial that we commence our efforts by concentrating on conversion points rather than in-apps at this specific point in time. The player must understand the reasons why acquiring this item is crucial for their progress in the game. If we discuss the game itself, currently I have made a few observations for myself that could potentially assist, in a general sense, theoretically, at least with soft skills and certain levels of involvement. First, it's not okay to control a naked dude. We are going into some of our first gaming session, and overall, if we are talking about gladiators, most likely, here are all my associations. It's the movie Spartacus. There is something like Spartacus, blood and sand, and the entire theme, 300 Spartans, these courageous men there, important half-naked dudes, engaged in fierce battles within the arena. And it turns out that we observe an individual with animations that are not very well tuned, meaning that, in my understanding, there are significant issues with blends and transition animations, even during movement. Initially, I would clothe him in something, even the simplest or lightest attire. As a player, it is important to me that my character is not just perceived as naked, but is dressed in something like this, supposedly historical or maybe pseudo-historical. Because our target audience here in this game is no longer hyper-cashiers, it's some dudes who, well, love fighting games, yes, and if we assert some form of minimal realism, this is the initial point. Second, during the first gaming session, a huge amount of content was dumped on me, like a super huge pile. After the first battle, I was asked to put on a shield there, then immediately upgrade the sword, then they led me somewhere else, more. That is, what do I mean? The very first fight for me lasted, I think, a few seconds. Correct me, please. Maybe, well, maximum 15-20. That is, first you have one guy, then 2 more guys, maybe half a minute. Well, personally for me. Then in the user interface I spent, well, I believe twice as much as I initially anticipated. It appears that the player should be granted the opportunity to enjoy the initial battles and savor the first victories that they achieve in the game. There is a pivotal moment that hinders my ability to fully relish the battles themselves and derive enjoyment from them. This is an extremely sharp and fast consumption of stamina. So you make literally 3 to 4 hits, and your stamina is consumed, and as a player, I don't comprehend why I am unable to make a hit. And for what reason is this happening? It is worth conducting experiments, in my understanding, to explore and gain insights. In my understanding, it's worth experimenting and giving the player a bit more stamina so he can make 6 to 7 hits, allowing him to strike multiple times in the first battle and swiftly defeat the opponent. Next, there is a sense of worth in making the initial opponents, I don't know, let's decrease their HP by 50%, for instance. Yes, well, we'll be quicker, lighter, more enjoyable. That is, we'll move towards a certain level of casualization, so to speak. In the next moment, I have an unclear control. I mean, I am running somewhere and trying to turn, but my character leans like a ship sinking at a 45-degree angle and somehow manages to continue running without losing momentum. This particular moment is quite frustrating. Once again, it emphasizes its importance. If we claim some kind of historicity, reality, something akin to a mid-core level of complexity, maybe it is worth trying to work with animations, or in order to enhance the overall impact and visual appeal of the project. Well, these animations catch the eye because of the naked body. If this guy is dressed in something, maybe we'll hide this unpleasant impact a little bit. If we keep repeating a certain moment, for instance, I didn't comprehend how to select diverse objectives in that situation. Someone tried to explain, but I didn't understand. It's important to pay more attention. Regarding clothing, there is another point to consider. At the moment, I am on the second level. I have already participated in around 5 or 6 battles, and unfortunately I have experienced one defeat. I received instruction on upgrading the sword, but clothing was not part of my training curriculum. So, it seems clothes are crucial in this game, as you'll be changing, improving, and leveling up there and more.
A small question about stamina. What you said, I also didn't have enough of it, but it seems to me that there you can improve it, there is an option. You have the ability to enhance your health, but I am in agreement that from the very beginning I would like to actively engage in a fight.
Stamina. I don't know if you've tried Vlad or not, but he added that. But in general, there is such a thing that when you have completely spent this stamina, yes, then you won't be able to hit anything at all. Do nothing until it fully recovers. So you have a very long time when your action is completely blocked, the character just stands, so maybe you don't need this recovery time at all. So for example, hits consume stamina, and when you have enough stamina for a hit, then you kind of strike. Well, I mean, maybe this. There should be no moment of blocking, like you sneaked up on a mine, hit once, that is. Maybe this tactic would work somewhere there. Tested this, honestly. Overall feeling of inadequate stamina, frustrating due to the lack of endurance. You need to consider how to utilize it correctly. How was it in games after all? Where do we have such kind of activity? For some reason, it seems to me that stamina is spent on some kind of blocking.
Kamina, perhaps this is the motto of monetization sources, right? The initial unimproved sword, maybe it needs to have some bonus, like +5 or +10 for more stability and increased value in the game's economy. Then, when you made improvements, at a certain point it disappears, and mathematics continues to spin, as it may have been calculated or derived through complex equations. Once again, this is a version in which you do not need to delve into and break all the intricate complexity. I am uncertain about the present accuracy and structure. It is conceivable that she is not entirely intoxicated at this time, and there is an opportunity for enhancement.
I will add, actually, I am prepared to completely change it in this particular case because what is already there is already in existence, and it demonstrated low retention in this specific case, so I am carefully listening, making notes to myself that we can truly also essentially completely modify this curve of complexity. There are various options available, yes, that is, stamina can be attributed not to a partial one, that is what Zhenya said, can be added, can be changed very quickly, making 7-8 strikes. That is, we can all actually do it quickly and efficiently. That's why the difficulty curve, yes, currently exists, particularly in story mode and history. But at the same time, I am prepared to completely change it because I have doubts that it will have a negative impact on player retention. Once again, it can be reverted back. But if it enhances, it will definitely produce different outcomes.
So, progression by level. So, am I understanding correctly that we want to teach the player to level up and spend RPG points on increasing, I don't know, health, stamina, and everything else?
Yes, overall correct.
I don't know where to improve health and stamina. This is done in the game menu before the battle. There on the right in short, there is such a handle drawn.
Look, I understand clearly that there is a button for the profile, right? Am I correct in my understanding? which is very small. It is located right here. In theory, the profile button can be located at the top left. An important point, if we are talking about wanting to train and push the player to level up, he understands, he worked hard, leveled up, gained some experience, leveled up, invested RPG points, became stronger, and moved on. So he possesses a conditional cycle of acquiring experience and utilizing these points. I was not given an explanation. Well, to begin with, I only managed to reach the second level there after the 7th battle, perhaps even at a later point in time. After attaining the level, they failed to provide an explanation to me regarding the option of utilizing these 2 points. This is what I learned on the call today, that this can be done. Well, I didn't deeply poke around all the buttons there. On the 3rd occasion, when I came here to spend my points, I was disheartened to see that there was a damage of 15 and a defense of 160. It appears that at such low levels, there is an indication of some kind of inconsistency that is present in the data. So it seems that damage and defense should be approximately the same, at least at the initial levels. Because the difference x10, well, it's a little frustrating. Like, you have a lot of things here right away. In theory, in tradition, in any case, everything is always, well, the overwhelming majority will not pump Dragon Force or stamina, it will pump the level. Well, because the game is about inflicting serious physical injuries to each other, sometimes with fatal consequences, and therefore you need to level up your character. Well, I put on some clothes there, but these are clothes available from the 1st level. Therefore, it is worth considering recalculating the balance slightly, in addition to the other factors.
Maybe not even recalculate, but revisualize.
To re-render, you do not have 160, but subtracted by 10, because for the player, it is still unclear whether 160 or 16 is required at the current stage.
I do not recall where I read this, but players enjoy large numbers.
Let's do 16 Kervalians.
No, my intention is not to lower 160 using a spatula, but rather to make it 150 by utilizing a bit bucket instead of a different method.
You can accomplish it in this manner. Thus, players are fond of large numbers, specifically digits. Well, there is a theory, there is an opinion. Probably worth stepping away from a certain project. It is extremely crucial to comprehend that if you earn 5 coins per minute, and this specific thing costs $1 million, you will not be pleased with this numerical value. And if you deal 500 damage there, overall it's good, but if another thing deals damage to you, well, you take some other fluff and it deals 515 damage, then in this case 500 and 515 look absolutely the same for the player. Well, why be concerned about it? I'm not aware. 3% of something, but if you possess 20 and this additional information provides you with a new 23-24, then it is already noticeable. I would not take the risk of providing significant numbers immediately. You can commence with small ones. But once again, it is up to you, as you prefer. What else? I do not understand this when I go to the store. It's important to consider these factors and make informed decisions based on your preferences and circumstances. Either discard or find an alternative method. At this point, I still don't comprehend the reason behind needing all these coins, money, and other items. Next, the system of compelling the player to expend real currency, well, it appears to me, is already a bit antiquated. I comprehend that there exist chests, that there is a timer, and that we train the player for one gem in order to accelerate there at the initial stage. Well, once trendy, there in the 17th year, in the 18th year, everyone still did it that way. Now, not worth it, because firstly, we're taking extra actions. And here the growth of the Chan raid is already possible. Secondly, he simply does not want to do it.
So, classically, what are you doing? Or do you give him the opportunity to open it for advertising so that the person does not spend hard currency?
Well, that is something we can discuss later, when the timers start to increase in duration.
Yes, that is, first you just give it to him right away, and then you give advertising. And only then, possibly, give it as some kind of method. Scroll through money.
And here is yet another important point. By the way, why did we decide to make the chests in the first place? Well, like, just gotcha, and why not on a timer?
As I understand it, the system with chests was needed precisely so that hard currency would be spent on their opening. You possess a timer, well, some form of obstruction, and you purchase essentially the act of finding something for monetary value.
Well, I can answer. That is, in fact, at first there were no chests in the game at all. We completely redesigned it at once, actually taking the mechanics from Clash Royale. That is, also doing what here with weapons, with any equipment, there is a maximum of 13th level. And, in accordance with this, chests enable, so to speak, the slowing down of a few moments when receiving content. So, before you could just buy any weapon, and accordingly we decided to change that. But, accordingly, the current problem encountered firstly with the fact that the balance was calculated really poorly. And it seems it needs to be recalculated. Plus the moment strongly diluted with the same Clash Royale that in Clash Royale can be used before. 8, let's say, there in this case cards in the same battle. In the world of gladiators, the problem arises when you obtain the most powerful sword, rendering all your previous swords irrelevant and insignificant, which is an unfortunate consequence of this dynamic. We attempted to address this partially with tier tournaments, where participants are required to utilize weapons from a specific tier, which is indicated by colors. There are 3 categories: common, uncommon, and rare. The new tournaments occur weekly and provide players with opportunities to compete and showcase their skills. And again, inside the shooting range there are also different weapons, which in fact differ only by one parameter, which is damage. Also, accordingly, the shield differs in only one parameter, which is protection. In fact, the game had such moments as movement speed and others as well. But in reality, the character possesses 2 of them. Even the importance of health decreases, particularly in higher levels, because health is restricted to a maximum of 10,000. At higher levels, which some players actually achieve, there are already numerical values in the hundreds of thousands, both in relation to damage and defense. Yes.
Vlad, why is health limited to 10,000?
Well, you know, the most correct answer historically has developed, I will tell you now.
I comprehend.
Yes, as it often happens. And accordingly, to tackle the rebalancing of current formulas, as often happens, it is scary, yes, that everything can be broken. However, I sense that the time has arrived when it is already feasible to break.
In fact, Vlad, maybe it's just my personal feeling, but at this very moment, the problem we're facing is not that our mechanics are not like yours. Yes, they are capable of having 8. We are unable to accomplish that. We have a problem in that we lack retention. First and foremost, we must enhance retention at a specific number, and only subsequently commence testing with monetization.
Yes, certainly. In the absence of any limitations, regardless of your actions, you will end up with a lack of tangible results. The game will not gain traction if the user does not have interest in playing it. Regardless of the monetization strategies employed, they will not be effective in this particular scenario.
And I conversely agree, i.e., I'm just talking about the same balance, what you've already mentioned about the stamina for 7-8 hits or more. This is also essentially a balance, specifically this early game, the first gaming session, i.e., it needs to be changed. I just provided an example specifically regarding chests, explaining the reasons behind the creation of chests at a certain point in time. That is, in reality, there is no goal to attach to the same chests. That is, this can also be redone, so to speak. For now, however, without much understanding of how it can be done better. But once again, this is the current situation, and there is no immediate solution in sight.
No, the problem does not lie in the chests. The issue is in their justification. You can always add to the chests that block certain mechanics to motivate the user for further purchases and encourage them to make additional transactions. Just when you have a chest added, but you don't have a long retention, and the user doesn't want to spend this internal currency, card currency, to conditionally open it. Why does he need to do this? He entered like to participate in a fight. If he pulled out, under certain conditions, after an initial game, subject to conditions, at an early stage, then he will not be able to comprehend. Well, like there is mechanics it can work, but on credit. Here is more, rather.
Reggie, do you have any other topics to discuss, or should we proceed to the recipes and start talking about them? Sanya?
I did not actually perceive any differentiation between the weapons. What is my intention or purpose in saying this? It appears that I have a preference for a sword and a spear, but I can't recall the specific name of the latter. However, I do remember that they had some minor differences. Spear, you there? I don't know. You keep the enemy at a distance. A sword, it's something closer. That is, the presence of different types of weapons changes some of my tactics. How to do it? I don't know yet. It's just a thought.
That is, they're like, if a sword, it strikes several blows, then like one spear, well, like, yes, with a spear you want, that you like pushed them away with it. And there, I don't know, really, or ran away, yes. And there maybe even hit with it somehow, for example, by ear. This can be
even through. I didn't grasp the bow gameplay. To me, the gameplay involving a bow unfolded like this. I stand. There are individuals in the distance. I exhaust my stamina with a shot, and then I flee from them. So it turns into some kind of incomprehensible dash in my subjective understanding, where as a player, I have to constantly retreat, wait for stamina to come out, restore stamina, and take a shot, and run away again, and run away again. So it is not fan-made, without a doubt. There are most likely no points of monetization present in that particular context or situation. Do we actually require such a mode? Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe it can be played in some way or another, but its necessity is uncertain. I am unaware there might be foes with bows present, and you must pursue them. Currently, I lack knowledge. It is unclear at this time. Here. Generally, as if there is a kind of good attempt to build some progression. Like here you have one mode, here is the second, here is the third, and so on and so forth. However, I have not yet observed any common connection. At this moment, I am feeling fine overall in terms of my well-being.
Probably not everything. I'd like to discuss analytics, specifically what needs improvement and how we can enhance it moving forward.
Oh, great. So, co-workers, it seems I still have something, right? So, what do we have? We have, you see, a thing, we have your actions and step-by-stepness, or rather the actions performed by the player during the game. That is, he comes to step A, performs B, C, D, and so on and so on. That is, we must comprehend when our player reaches a state of boredom. Otherwise, we must analyze the first funnel. Let's construct, and that is it. Accordingly, you have some event there, I do not know. The player is upgrading the sword, well, and he upgrades it in the tutorial. Here, please, there is the initial weapon update. Let's initiate some event. Let's observe, so we have first open, there is first launch, and we will construct this funnel for each of the actions.
I have a query. Are we performing a distinct action, or are we also incorporating a secondary funnel that is perpendicular to the amount of time expended?
Why do we need a funnel based on time spent? If our actions have the same impact on us, we can take immediate action.
We don't need a time spent on the first stage. In principle, this is a linear game. That is the first fight, the second fight, the third.
Initially, we aim to establish the steps exhibiting the most significant dropout rate, analyze possible solutions, and subsequently proceed to address other concerns. Something to twist in parallel? Well, I do not know. Well, okay, we will have a time spent of 8 minutes over there, so to speak. The dumps will occur on the second day. This is the main part of the event that everyone is eagerly anticipating.
I understood.
Now it won't help us in any way.
And in the first WoW round, do you need to pass the time? Well, to understand, on average, how long did it take for people to come?
The battle is over, you can.
What was the duration for an individual to reach this stage? So in that regard, the average ball underwent improvement in the 4th minute, and similarly, boots were purchased in the 12th minute of the process.
Well, I'm afraid we'll have some sort of average situation, because someone will play for a duration of 20 seconds like me, and someone will play for a duration of 2 minutes.
Understood. It's a fairly average temperature by position.
No, I recommend operating exclusively with steps and a dump at this precise moment, because we currently have linearity in our process. If we didn't have linearity, we could, I don't know, just operate with time spent, well, for the first gaming session.
Here we have points. We built the Voronoi diagram based on these points, examined the spikes, and made a determination on whether we can resolve them or not. Once we have fixed them, we can proceed with other tasks.
Vlad, did you build funnels for yourself?
No, we do not. Prior to constructing the diagram, the panel can be built precisely as outlined in the tutorial. However, beyond that, particularly from the second level onwards, the level of linearity gradually diminishes. This is due to the introduction of new modes with each subsequent level, making it increasingly challenging to maintain linearity. Nevertheless, up until the second level is reached, it is still possible to construct a player's steps in a linear manner according to the tutorial. As far as I recall, when we created these funnels, around tutorial stage, 1 to 2% dropped off at some point. There was a 2% decrease at some point, but I definitely recall that previously, at the very least, there were no significant dropouts in the tutorial steps. So they were quite smooth. In general, the question of the tutorial, that is, in my understanding, it is rather necessary in this game, but whether in its current form or not, that is, in fact, the moment with the increase in stamina mentioned earlier, will make the tutorial more enjoyable, that is, to exclude it, or rather reduce the time when the player simply needs to run. He can simply run. That is, in essence, this often happens in Archer mode because more stamina is spent, and accordingly in Torel too, that is, I make 4 attacks and have to restore all the stamina. Yes, it's possible to linearly build a funnel for the entire tutorial until the player reaches the second level. It's possible to build a funnel strong enough to determine what he will do.
And it is relatively simple to make an error with ABTS with 3 conditional strikes with a total of 7 strikes. And take a look at the conditional retention observed from day 7 onwards.
Regarding retention from day 7, when discussing the lottery, the answer is no, well, yes. The process of rolling will not occur, so let's simply examine the end of the funnel. We have here 10 steps and here 10 steps. These 10 steps, there a cohort is old stamina, B cohort is new, improved. If we win something at this place, it is good. Here you go. Sure, it can roll there on the 7th and 30th because it'll be easier and more enjoyable for the players to play. It is evident. However, at present, we will only make a comparison of this specific piece of information.
All right, we are in consensus.
Can I overall, run through what I've collected here? Although I didn't have enough of all the interesting, cool animations. Although our primary mechanic is based on chests, unlocking chests is tedious.
And I would also say the fight is on, i.e., when you do some damage to the enemy and there is no animation, there is no sense of battle. Currently, I have a strong desire. I want to witness an animation that portrays the action of successfully executing a hit. This encompasses both the act of dealing a hit and the act of receiving a hit. In other words,
for me, finding a skilled 3D animator seems to be more challenging, but creating animation like a chest is very simple and cost-effective.
Well, yes, in general you can add, this will immediately raise our in-apps by 300,000%.
Here, well, just like, however, it still gives a feeling like, yes, that is the case.
You do not need it, you will not need it, and it will not be necessary for you to have it.
But you show, but as if, well, there's not enough of it here. Anyway, this feeling that the animation is cool, they are missing. It's quite easy and inexpensive to do. What I noted, so to speak, yes, well, that is how it opens. Yes, there, for example. Dang, not cool. Not cool at all. Just now it was like the main mechanics of that sort. It was a crucial aspect of the whole situation.
In this situation, I would like to emphasize that it is not advisable to set a double goal. Additionally, if my memory serves me correctly, you have the option to select one out of the 3 available choices. Am I right? No, it turns out all 3. It all works out here, yes. Here I would just implement the mechanics for what you receive. 1 or 2 out of 5, yes, and you can obtain an additional one for a leap.
Well, here it's a chest. In general, the problem here is this. The cycle with chests is that in fact the value of the chest is low. There are a lot of these chests falling after each game. And just also, so it turns out very strange this system with chests how it looks. You complete the game like you won the battle, and instead of a reward for the battle, you get a chest. You can open the chest in half an hour. So it turns out that your reward system is broken for the battle in general. So you went through and got nothing, passed and got nothing, that's right. Sasha said that, for example, if you redo it cheaply, yes, for example, this system, That, for example, if something falls to you, yes, like there is immediately some gold there. Yes, after the battle. EvKar shows that you are leveling it up. Yes, that is, for the first 2 battles you would, for example, gain a level. Yes, for the next 2 battles you would gain another level. Acquired gold, improved basic gear with the obtained gold resources.
Prokaryote progression.
Yes, that is, well then you, so to speak, suppose, of course, already there on some, well, 4th level, when you get, yes, 3rd, 4th, you'd put it there, well, 4 fights. Well, roughly speaking, in 10 battles you would get there. Well, at least level 3, yes. So for the next 10 battles you would get 2 levels, yes. And now like this, and now you only get chests that you open for hard currency, and it will be, well, like, and often such players like me, for example, they don't like it at all. They are greedy, they don't want to spend hard currency. Suddenly she might come in handy later. I never spend it, and accordingly I just don't get anything for the fight. Here. And because there are still a significant number of these chests, they also undergo a devaluation in terms of their worth and value. There's an inflation of chests. The inflation of chests is very harsh, yes. And then, BTW, here's a picture of how it continues. Yes, how it is there. Ah, here, well, there you go, your chests are filled, and then he tells you straight up that you won't get anything for the battle anymore. Not that the chest that you can't open, but also this chest that you can't open, you won't get it either.
Okay, you're still a joker, yes, in the end.
You said that with advertising monetization, everything seems to be fine with you. You held on. I saw the first ad when I passed the league, and I got tired of passing the league.
Once again, the question of players' irritability arises. There are rewards from the outset of the game, and I made the decision to include an interstitial only following the initial league.
Here. Well, and the league in general, like, oh, so after this league there'll be more often. Yes, wait, they'll do it every battle. Yes, I got it. Everything is fine. Well, the initial league is excessively lengthy, obviously. Well, something similar to that. Well, and I did not observe her immediately, yes. That is probably, it would be cool for me, for example, if I saw, for example, well, a typical tournament classic, when there is this grid of some gladiatorial battles, I don't know. By the way, do you know where I saw cool tournaments in this? Mountain Blade, if you have not played. No? No, I did not participate. I did not play Mountain Blade, but it was a cool tournament.
Guys, half a second, can I? Tournaments are life operations. Life ops. This is already the life of the project. Now the project has no life. Let's consider how to infuse vitality into it and repair it using this.
You see, tournaments, they're like, just here you can't see the point of the game, so why do you play in battle every time?
Well, you need to give this meaning. The meaning of the question is that it can be distinguished by stages, that initially it is some kind of minimal campaign, where you can do without a super deep narrative that a person goes through, acquires gear, and then fights with other gladiators. That's when it connects. Maybe, in order to advance through leagues, there is some kind of global aspect.
But this is already some kind of medium-term globality.
No. It means that you should display it at the start, that you have something significant there, something you are working towards. Did I grasp correctly?
No, most likely not. In certain circumstances, yes. You have an initial stage that you need to go through in order to reach something substantial and significant in magnitude. However, according to Jom Sasha, it is crucial to address and resolve this initial stage.
He's not here now. Yes, I agree. But what I mean is you can't do something big, but you can just show there's something big.
Fabricate it. Let us create a design for a bubble game. Position the button in the league stone, just like we usually do in our designs.
And we measure. Once again, addressing the question of how bad it is shown, even at this moment in the game, if you click on the league icon inside the league, which is either to or another league, there will essentially appear such, how should I call it? Essentially the road to the end of the leagues is shown. Yes, in reality, there are thoughts that players who ultimately reach the part of the tournament where they essentially compete with digital replicas of other players start to experience hindrances and limitations that hold them back from progressing further in the game. So you probably have not seen it, so the question is how valuable it is to give it early and whether it is worth the investment. But that's exactly what keeps the other players, And to the question of what I am interested in the game. I have players who have been playing for a considerable number of years without a doubt, and who have even converted into paying customers for it. And they participate in these tournaments on a regular basis. So there is a tournament held every week, there is an arena event held every month, and they fiercely compete in them.
And have you tried providing this function to the player in advance? Well, like, so that he could perceive it there as expeditiously as possible in some way, due to the fact that it is currently not clear?
Yes, I imply I haven't attempted giving before. This is the moment that opens up in battles from the 5th or 4th level, this so-called Tournament of Champions. However, in reality, it is readily available in these occurrences, which are commonly referred to as events or daily tournaments, right away and without any delay or waiting period. But again, we are definitely not leading the player through these events.
They go there, most likely. At the start, they attempt to play in the story. Yes, probably, in this as well. By the way, this thing with tournaments, with these leagues that you showed me, when can you click? It's cool. However, I enjoy it. Presently, it becomes evident why I take part in these tournaments.
In order to accomplish this, you were in need of guidance from the CEO, who provided valuable advice and insights essential for reaching your goal.
Yes. No, not like that. We can have incredibly healthy tournaments, we can rely on them to convert all of us, and there we have an enormous amount of money that we can utilize. If you don't have gameplay, and your gameplay is uninteresting and boring, make 1 billion tournaments, there still won't be any retention. Existing tournaments, existing everything, it does not work. Let us initiate on a smaller scale. Then we will handle it. Well, I mean, if we made the game more captivating at this stage, it signifies that more individuals will also engage and participate in those tournaments. They exist, they don't. What they are, bad, good, it doesn't matter. Our task is to work at the current stage only with onboarding, with V2M, the first game session, increase D0. Well, I mean, yes, D1, D0, here is our stage of work. Here they enhanced, we now have a range of 21, 22, which has been raised to 30. We are great. Next, we move on to stages D3, D7, D14, D28, D billion 6000. Just like that. Everything else is speculation, like tournaments are cool, awesome, not cool. This is still a hypothesis that we may not reach in a year if we don't fix this problem.
Again, I would separately ask, well, Vlad will probably do it, just should do it for fans by leagues. Yes, that is, we are conditionally talking about both leagues and levels. That is, how many % have reached the 2nd, 3rd, 4th level? And so we looked at the noisy places. Firstly, you need to bring the player to the 2nd and 3rd levels, and then deal with the 4th, 5th, and the tournament.
Not only to bring to the level, but also to show why he needs this level increase, which is currently missing. So the player gains a level. Actually, thanks to this, he gets these skill points, but the game doesn't show how to spend them at the moment of leveling up, and that's also a problem that needs to be changed.
Prior to doing it. And you know what? I must show what I haven't seen. That some experience is added, that I need to accumulate so much experience there in order to level up.
This is how the reward at the end of the battle was supposed to look.
It is given, but it is given very, again, apparently, well, it is unclear.
Invisible?
Invisible, yes. So at the end of the battle, when it shows how many kills you have shown how much you earned, let's say, these experience points.
Experience need, like, in order to, how much?
Yes. What's left until the next yes. That is, apparently it's better to show this about thunderstorms than just with an absolute number. Yes, yes, yes.
You can trophy route. Here you have a player profile. You click. There is a trophy route inside. Here you have such minimum touches with exploit, yes, before each level. And here are rewards, so you can play it differently. Important moment. Here I am at the 2nd level, and I already have a currency surplus. I can buy some kind of hatchet for 10 coins, for 20, and I already have 100 gems and 1100 soft currency. So this is already a very significant surplus. Next, you offer the player the chance to scroll there, to tap on other elements and explore additional content within the game, in the comments. Here I have, as I said, some item with 150 defense, right? I just clicked on the one that opens at level 9, and I see 18,549 defense. Here, there is plus this Kervolion, there is luxury, there is this whore Leon, and for me this is completely incomprehensible. That is, it seems like the 9th level is not so far away, but such huge damages, and here it even happens in the subconscious. Some kind of devaluation of something because of a set of large, well, your number consists of a bunch of orders, and 18,000, there 150 starts, 220, you're already like, damn, get lost. Just give me 200, 250, 300 there. So you also need to consider this.
Another problem, it won't actually open with the 9th level. This is a general issue that needs to be addressed. On E the most. Here, essentially the story of Clash Royale was apparently taken incorrectly. That is, here there are shooting ranges of things. Well, easier by colors. There is grayish.
This is availability, which means you can obtain it later from gachi.
Yes. The problem is also that it instantly becomes a 9th level, not the 1st. So it was taken, again, well, we took this moment, as it was in Clash Royale, how those cards were given.
There, this system is designed so that, look, when you come to some 9th level, you have your card that is upgraded to the 9th level. You have already invested everything there, and it is important and valuable to you. If you are here to get even a new legendary, but of the 1st level, it will still be weaker than this one. They worked until 9, providing this value. Well, that is like the situation they were in.
Why exhibit it at this moment? Generally, I am of the opinion that all numerical values ought to be hidden from view.
However, they displayed it just to show the player what he can obtain in the future by playing and experiencing the game firsthand.
Now I'm buying something, I can buy it for money conditionally with a value of thousands, and they show you that later there will be some bullshit with 20,000. You understand that you are throwing away this money right now. If a person has to buy something, he must understand the value of this thing, and now the value of this thing well.
Yes, I comprehended the concept of depreciation and its impact on asset value over time.
But I mentioned about depreciation right at the very beginning. It's fortunate that we have arrived at this point. Aha.
No, he is currently discussing another devaluation that it has been devalued in the store.
Well, okay. The devaluation occurred not because he showed this thing, because there the numbers dance back and forth. That's it. And if you have a series of guns, there is approximately a plus or minus 5% difference in power between them. So if you have a premium gun, it will have a 30% power increase compared to the others in terms of some power. However, these 30% must be visualized in a clear and conditional manner. I am unable to visualize 165 and 183. For me, it is the same to slightly construct the entire curve in a different manner, rendering it smoother and more linear. I understand that at the start of dev, everyone always focused on the flesh royal, on the chests, on this system. Maybe such a system isn't necessary. But once again, let's return to our sheep. These are bushings. Let's observe. Here, perhaps everything we've said here now is complete nonsense, and it won't work. Certainly, it is acceptable, as I have already grown accustomed to it. The reduction is only 10%, specifically by module.
A good clarification in terms of module.
Another point, doesn't it seem to all that the interface is overloaded from the start? But overall, he's kind of... And there are two menus. There is a general menu and a menu that you will fix.
But you are primarily in the people's menu, and it transpires that you still possess. Thus, even these crucial components, where to proceed, you must enhance, you must return. It's really sad.
The interface is overwhelming for me. Perhaps it was typical for the time when it was being developed, but at present players should not be provided with such features. An excellent illustration is examining gorillas and the actions they take for their games. They just plus or minus everything the same, they maximize everything on the player's main screen, and if you don't make a mid-core game, even in mid-core games it seems to me that now everyone is trying to display it too, then it is desirable to give it some entry icons in the menu, but not hide this menu behind the screen, behind the back arrow or something else. So, in addition to the so-called quality user, I would like to add that what Sasha was saying is that there is a weapon, and it is unclear how this weapon affects me and my overall situation in this particular context. So you have the ability to do it in the same conditional manner, just like they do in action RPGs, such as in the current version of Diablo. In other games like Diablo, they just inform you of the bonus amount you will receive. So you have green statistics present, and you write green plus to him, causing 3 points of damage or some other effect. This makes it clear that this will improve me and I don't need.
Such a thing actually exists, yes. Maybe, again, it is not very clear how to write it.
Maybe it's just getting lost because it's all plus a little more. For example, I pay attention to very small details. I always want bigger. Maybe I'm just getting old.
No, I actually wanted to state that when I look at this picture, I desire to have this individual. So here you can make minor adjustments to the camera, change the angle, and make the character bigger. This character, well, for me, as a player, is closely associated with me, meaning that he is significant to me. Yes, Dan, sorry for interrupting.
No, everything is accurate. I am finished. So I would like to view bigger icons. And what I was mentioning when there is a conflict, this stamina is depleted more quickly. We discussed it, but there is no visible impact resulting from this stamina.
And there's also a huge bunch of buttons. And I don't understand, well, by the way, this is by the time of fragmentation, the delivery of content during the first game session there.
No, they are crushed there. The inquiry is merely distinct. What is the overall significance and meaning of it all? How often do you track events? How often do they switch goals, for example? What's the maximum goal count in the arena? Is this button necessary?
Oh, I switched there completely, especially when there were a lot of them. They often still fight with each other, so you can even choose.
For example, the opponent can have 5 goals for the player.
Another point about monetization, you say they've considered everything. I think not all. Here we have deaths, and after death you suggest getting arrested for 5 coins or for some advertisement. Query, how frequently are you arrested for advertising?
I can't give you exact numbers now, but I remember when we implemented the restoration moment for advertising, it gave a significant boost, doubling the ad revenue at that time, specifically for the restore. Just a problem, once again, on the other hand, that is, then the history mode was one of the main ones. And now there is only a restore option available for advertising in the mode. Once again, history and in the arena mode, respectively. In other game modes, there is no option to restore advertising after the player's character dies.
There is an opinion that expenses can assist us. So essentially you add approximately 2 or 3 perhaps cells beneath your left finger. One cell, it will be a conditional first aid kit. Because, well, yes, this thing may cannibalize the restaurant, but the first aid kit, most likely you will use it when your HP drops almost to a minimum and you will be dying. So, having a reliable first aid kit is crucial in such life-threatening situations. At the same time, we can take some handicap, no more than 3 first aid kits, something else. You can swap a first aid kit for software, hardware, ads, in-app purchases, and other items. Additionally, to enhance your ability to use medkits more frequently, you have the option to configure the AI in such a way that 2 to 3 enemy characters immediately aggro and drop a health pack for you on certain difficult maps, like on peak difficulty maps, until you press the medkit button to activate it. The second slot is something that is there, capable of providing, instant recovery of stamina. Why not? In my opinion, it's quite a good thing. Especially if you will be fighting with some big boss, right? So, your objective is to overcome a formidable mob with a substantial amount of health points, HP, throughout the campaign. You need HP, you need stamina.
Apologies, I missed it. You forgot that you need to first obtain this mobile, draw it.
Simply extract a 15-20% portion from the size on all axes of a typical mobile entity, outfit it with attractive and adorable armor, and that concludes the process of creating a visually appealing miniature version of a regular mob. And in its visual representation, it will have the look of a boss, exuding authority and confidence through its appearance.
Make him an Ethiopian or someone from Ethiopia in the Gladiators they were.
No, everything is like that. Even for this, yes. This can be done very quickly.
And for example, here is the third button. There, yes, it is an expense that can help you in battle in the leg. There you blurt it out on the sand, and the enemy here is the sand, and the enemy is stunned, for example, for a second. That is some kind of combat advantage this may be. I don't know, some kind of simple there, you pressed it. He threw something into it, and also with the stunning effect. Simultaneously, each of these will add A, diversity to the gameplay, B, it will be a point of monetization. What I'm afraid of, the pharmacy can cannibalize this thing, but here you need to work on the balance.
Understood, certainly. I will consider that in my approach.
I have everything in general.
In my opinion, we are already in close proximity to the final stage. I believe that we have managed to come up with a plentiful amount of ideas in hell. I don't know, I was anticipating this quantity or a slightly greater amount or a smaller one.
No, I'm actually very grateful because there were ideas that I have already implemented in the project. The project was released for the first time in 2017, as far as I remember. And some ideas I actually heard for the first time now, for which I am very grateful. And for those who are not the first time, I am very grateful, yes. Particularly with stamina, which we have consistently discussed, I believe, perhaps, genuinely. Modify the initial gaming session, as it has the potential to greatly alter the player's perception. In fact, we even had moments, our first battles, that is, the story was like this, remembering we used to do it before. The initial battles were in armor, and then supposedly, that is, we had a story, and even mini comics were there, that supposedly we were like that, like the movie Gladiator, that we, a powerful general, we are from armor, then we fall into slavery, and we need to achieve the former heights from this slavery again, and therefore initially you are in armor, then you are half naked. Here, the initial battles in armor also in reality we are capable of performing. I do not know the extent to which players require this narrative at present. Right from the start, be sure to give a comic strip, as long as it makes sense in the context. I believe that the narrative of altering game balances will provide more than just a modification, incorporating any such historical, essentially, as more of an elucidation of the storyline. That is the reason why I am genuinely grateful to each and every individual for providing such a thorough analysis of the game.
I am thankful to my colleagues Dasha, Denis, Janyaluat for their great support. Thank you all so much.
Goodbye.